I think we are live. Yeah. I was like waiting for my little life icon there. Hello, everyone. Happy Grateful Wednesday. Yes. And today I have a very interesting guest. Not the usual naked guest I have, but I feel we're going to get naked on radiology and some of current events and especially about what we're missing. So, yes, I feel that we're going to talk a little bit about what we're missing. So, this is the Get Naked Show with Dr. Aura, and I am so happy to be here with an amazing guest that in Naked Style, I'm going to let him introduce himself. So, welcome to the Get Naked Show, Dr. Cliff Tao. Can you please be so kind to introduce yourself for the audience?
Sure, Aura, and thank you very much for having me. Hi, everybody. My name is Cliff Tao, and I'm a chiropractor and a chiropractic radiologist. I do radiology for chiropractors throughout the U.S. and a little bit outside of the U.S. too. And that's all I do. I don't have a patient practice per se. And all my staff work remotely, so it's just me and now my wife in my office. Usually she's not here, but because of the pandemic thing, she's here all the time. And I've been doing it for about 15, 16 years now. You wanted me to throw in some interesting tidbit that you don't think too many people know about me.
Go.
I actually don't think I'm that interesting. Maybe I love my, before we went live, Aura was talking about how she loved my background. So I love the technological aspect that we're kind of forced into now. And actually, I wasn't a big video guy. I don't really like seeing my own face all the time. But now, with webinars and stuff, people kind of are demanding it. And so this behind me is actually a green screen, and it's a virtual background. And you can actually do video ones too, Aura. I don't know if you knew that. So in Zoom, I know you can do that.
Yes, I see people do it, and I'm like, for most people that know me, they think I know all this techie stuff. I don't know how to, people don't know. I'm a little old, but I didn't even know how to program a VCR. People don't know what a VCR is anymore. But
yeah, don't worry, I know what it is.
Yeah. But I'm not very techie, but I admire when people do fun things, especially now with all this Zoom calls and all this. How has it changed the way you practice? Because you were pretty remotely anyhow, right?
Yeah, we're a remote location, and we don't even allow patients to come to our door. And actually, even if this sounds bad, but even if they call or email me, I either don't reply or I tell them to go through their chiro, because I don't want to talk to them. It sounds bad. I want to talk to the chiropractor, because I can't. I've been speaking the same language with chiropractors for so long, and I'm sure you had it. You got to switch your language when you speak to general population, and it's too hard for me, Aura. It's too hard. So no, we used to charge double or triple, to be honest, and now it's not even. I can't do it. It's not even worth it anymore. So just go through your chiropractor. Trust me, it's much better that way. So I guess that's one thing that's interesting, that I do love talking to people like you, chiropractors, people in the health industry.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm talking about health and radiology things to regular people, it's very frustrating for me. So I just, no, I don't. It's not that I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to talk to you about your radiology. So no offense.
X-rays, forget it. Let your chiropractor do that. Well, this is interesting. Something I didn't know. For most people that don't know, the Get Naked Show is very spontaneous, and we never know what's going to come out of each other's mouth. And for the most part, I get to know my guests. Well, my audience gets to know my guests. So at the same time, I know I met you briefly at last year's Lyceum, Sherman Lyceum. We were both speaking at that beautiful event. It was such a beautiful weekend. I had such a great time, and the students and the staff at Sherman were just such beautiful energy. That's what I remember the most about that weekend. But talking about what you do and talking about current events, because we cannot deny, let me pause my phone. We cannot deny the world we're living in is a little bit different than when we met last year, right? A lot of things have changed to the point that I want to be like you. I want to hide, not talk to anyone.
I understand completely.
For that matter.
It's okay. It's okay, Aura.
It's okay. I could do this. So, and I even backed out from doing a lot of these interviews, but I love doing interviews and I love getting some naked tips that my audience can benefit from. So if you're there and if you're listening, let me know where you're listening from. Let me know if you know my guest. Let me know if you have any radiology questions, things you wanted to know. This is the Naked Show. So we're going to give tips that you can use right away. But we were talking right before, and I wanted to talk about how we sometimes miss information because we jump to conclusions. And I know this is very current for something I did today. And it is very current for probably some of the chiropractors that contact you about reading x-ray, right? Sometimes the answer is right there. If they would have taken it just a few more steps, they would have seen what you're seeing. We just jump to conclusions too fast, or we get scared and we run the opposite way. There's so many of these reactions that have been happening, in my opinion, to all of us in the last few months because of all the changes that we do not understand, right? And we want it all to go back to how it was, and we don't understand all these changes. But I want to talk about that missing link, because in my story, what happened to me, I know I posted something about Tony Robbins because I recently took his live UPW. I loved it, and I bought his whole shebang, all his master university and everything. And he posted something about doing a webinar today, which hasn't happened. I need to say that webinar hasn't happened as of when we're recording this. And he's going to go over some natural vaccine that he's promoting or something. And I really reacted like a Latina that I am. And I was like, I'm breaking up with this guy. I don't know how I'm going to get my $15,000 investment back, but I'm going to fight it because this is crazy. It goes against my values. It goes against, and I went crazy. And as I made the post, so many other people that took the time to do research, posted other things that maybe this is the way that he's going because he preaches about natural health and wellness and how the body can heal itself. We chiropractors have always been very keen with Tony Robbins' teachings. So I jumped to the conclusion. So now that I had you on today, I didn't plan this. I said, I wonder where we're missing. Where's our missing link when it comes to x-rays, when it comes to your line of work? Where are we really missing where are we jumping to conclusions so quickly that we're missing what we have right in front of us?
Yeah, that's a great question, Aura. And we have kind of deal with that situation a lot here. And it's interesting that you mentioned that you quickly jump to the conclusions because you're Latina, and I think it's because I'm Asian, and we have some jump to conclusion Asians too. But I want to say Asians, we almost have no emotions sometimes. And my wife is gone, but she will verify that I do not have emotions. We joke about it. Well, I think it's a joke that she says that I'm a robot and I only follow protocols and flowcharts and things like that. And so, it's kind of in my blood to not have a quick response and kind of think things through and, check things depending on my experience and what I learned in school and residency and things like that. And but it's a common thing. It's, of course, we need to have emotions in real life, but we also need to have, the ability to educate ourselves all the time. And so a frequent thing that I see in my practice, and, you see it on those various Facebook group radiology pages, and someone will post an x-ray with a really obvious finding, like it'll be a big white thing or something. And so when you see it, everyone is freaking out and, oh my goodness, you have to send them to the ER and so I'm like, well, let's hold before you do anything, too crazy. Let's think about it. I think we can be a little bit smart about it. It is a big white thing, but I think it's normal, because of the patient's big or the patient is rotated or something, sometimes it is something really bad and they do need to go to the ER or somewhere else. But most of the time it's something that's not urgent, and, maybe you need a different view, take another view in your office, call the patient back and, hey, let's take a couple extra special views and see if we can, figure this thing out. It's not something we see all the time, but let's do a little more thorough job and see if we can figure it out. Maybe that's what you have to do. So like you said earlier, it's just one extra step, maybe 2 extra steps, and we can all do a little bit better job. So I love that one extra step. It's not that hard to be a radiologist.
It's not that hard. Yes, we're just talking that's one of the things that I learned from John D'Onofrio, rest in peace. And he used to say, is the difference between the winners and the losers is just one more step. If you take that one more step, you're going to win. And that I've taught that to my children all the time, because they said, what's the difference between the one that made it to the finish line and the one that is like half a second behind? It was one more step. And that's pretty much when it went to x-rays. But what are the things, in your opinion, because I remember, oh my God, I don't read x-rays anymore. I haven't done x-rays in my office in the last, I need to say that, because I haven't done that x-rays in my office in the last 6 years. I send them out. Somebody takes them, somebody reads them.
Terrible.
Somebody gets them.
I don't talk to you anymore. I don't want to talk to you anymore.
I know. I should have told you that before, but yes.
No, it's okay.
You see how we don't know this is all spontaneous, but yeah, this is the Get Naked Show with Dr. Aura, and I'm being very naked here to say that yes, I was quick to jump to conclusions. I no longer take x-rays. I love x-rays. I think they give us so much great information. But in your opinion, what would you think is the one thing that people miss the most? Or when you've been teaching, because I saw that you also volunteer some of the schools and you help with students, right? Well, their minds are nice and open, not like doctors that have been out of school for 22 years. Their minds are nice and open and they are a sponge. What are the things that they miss the most that could be so obvious, or the one thing that they're just not getting? Because when it comes to x-rays, I'm sure we have some of those common things.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I could even kind of divide it into, since you mentioned, students and chiropractors, and maybe even experienced chiropractors. We have this saying in radiology, maybe it's just in chiropractic radiology, is that as soon as you graduate, when you finish your boards, that's the smartest you'll ever be. You know all these different diseases and arthritis, tumors, whatever. But after you start practicing and you don't see these things anymore, it goes away. So you are smart in the beginning. So I notice with students and young practitioners, young chiropractors, early in their practice, is they're always saying, "Oh, is that a tumor, or is that?" I'm like, no, don't worry, it's not. I mean, it could be, but I like that it's still fresh in their mind and they're questioning things. And so frequently I have to tell them to relax. Look up how common it is to have an osteosarcoma in a female who's 40 years old. It's super rare, so that should not be the first thing at the top of your head. But they don't believe me, so I'm like, that's fine. I'll read your x-rays, I'll charge you, I'll take your money, no problem. And then with the seasoned chiropractors, I think they've become so used to not seeing it, they miss a lot of things. And I think you get used to seeing a lot of, I'll call them normal, but maybe medically normal, because they'd probably be read as normal by the medical radiologist, typically, not all the time. And, so they get used to seeing these x-rays and not noticing things that might be on the x-ray that might be subtle. So they miss, that's what we see. So it's a difference between an early and a late chiropractor, not really late, new and older chiropractor.
I just feel like sometimes we see what we want to see.
Yeah. Oh gosh, yes.
And sometimes, we jump to conclusions, but sometimes we see, because we have this viewpoint that in our minds behind, because we haven't done it in so long, we don't even want to see any anomalies, especially if we've been in chiropractic in practice for too long. We're not used to, we're not looking for that. We think, the power of the body heals the body, and with an adjustment, we're just gonna clear it all away and just let the forces that make this body just heal from whatever condition, right? And yes, don't quote me on this. This is just me just shutting away, just saying chiropractic doesn't cure anything. I need to be very clear. We just release the interference and let the body do its thing, whatever that thing might be. But I do feel that sometimes we project what we want to see. Like every single time I saw something weird in an X-ray, I thought the patient was chewing gum. I'm like, Epic, that was the one thing that just stayed in my mind. I know, laugh away. I'm so sorry.
I'm sorry, but
Okay.
we get that too. You're not alone. You're not alone.
I'm sure it's just a piece of gum. There's nothing there to see. So, and sometimes we wouldn't even corroborate it because we are just, I feel that chiropractors and interviewing chiropractors, being doing mission trips 12 years with chiropractors and chiropractic students from every single one of the schools that have come on our mission trips with ChiroMission, I know that in their minds, there's just, we have this belief, which is not wrong, that the body is a self-healing mechanism and it's all perfect, and we're just looking subluxations. If you find the subluxation, you're going to clear it all. And sometimes we tend to jump to the conclusion, just like I did this morning with TR, and not do the steps. So if we have some chiropractic students listening to us right now, which I am so passionate about, because I feel if we can hit the students, we change the whole profession. So if we had some chiropractic students listening to us and we had to tell them like 3 different steps that they can never miss when looking at an X-ray without portraying their solution before even looking like we do, like jumping to the conclusion, what would those be?
Oh, you're gonna maybe think this is too basic, but I learned, maybe you learned it too, but do you remember the ABCs for radiology? So the ABCs are, it's just like a checklist, and I would encourage everyone. I think we learned it in school, so I think everyone knows it, but just go through the ABCs when you're looking at every single X-ray. And it helps if you're not rushed, obviously, like with your patients, you don't want to be rushed either. So I get that clinical practice is hard and you're forced into a rush situation sometimes. But if at all possible, I'll try to do it without being too stressed and too rushed. So go through the ABCs: A for alignment, obviously; B for bone, and it's not just bone density; it's bone, the shape of the bone, the internal architecture of the bone. C is for cartilage or joint and disc spaces, and the little S at the end is for soft tissues, which is one that I think is frequently forgotten because you're like, wow, who cares? Soft tissues, we don't really see it anyway. But you can see soft tissues if you look. Take that one extra step and look at the soft tissues. So that's what I would say. Those, not 3 but 4 things: A, B, C, and S.
Ooh, I like that. Okay, chiropractic students, if you're out there, just take those notes and don't forget that when you get out of school, because
Yeah.
my friend says this is fascinating. Yeah, he's a chiropractic friend of mine that got me into ChiroMission. Hello, JC. I know, right? X-ray, so fascinating. I know.
Jean-Claude.
Jean-Claude, yes, Jean-Claude. He's the founder of ChiroMission, and I'm still doing trips because of him. So we got to go on mission trips and see this thousands of people without any X-rays.
It's fine.
Yeah, this whole thing again with the power that made the body, with just releasing the pressure and letting it all in. But I wanted to talk to you about. I know you gave us the steps, and I know you've been doing this for so long, and what made you get into this? What is that thing that made you become passionate about X-rays? Because just like my friend just said, they are fascinating, right? Some people might not think so, but I know you do, and you love what you do because I seen your passion on stage. So tell me, what made you want to get into this?
I think it's in my blood. So the reason I say that is because my dad he's a medical radiologist. So he just retired a few years ago, but he practiced full-time radiology for like 40 years. But I felt like it wasn't even him, because I would ask him when I was in applying to chiropractic school, and when I started to get a little bit of X-ray, I said, hey, did you ever show me X-rays when I was little, like a baby or something? Because it was like natural. As soon as they put a picture of an X-ray, it was like, oh, I felt so comfortable. I'm like, and I wanted to focus all my energy in there. I didn't care what anyone said. I didn't care if it made me any money or not. I just knew that this was something that I really liked doing. And he said that my dad, the medical radiologist, said, no, he was very anti, pushing the kids to do, medicine or lawyer, right? So you think of the typical Asian parents, it's usually the moms, oh, you're going to be a doctor or you're going to be a lawyer, no other choices. That was my mom. She's like, chiropractor? No, you're going to be a medical. I'm like, I'm not smart enough. I won't be able to get in. I'm like, I'm going to be a chiropractor because, my friends are chiropractors and I kind of like the philosophy. But my dad was very hands off. He's like, no, you choose what you want to do, but you choose something that you know that you're going to like. It could be anything. You could be whatever, a cashier, you could be an accountant, as long as you know that that's what you like and you're going to enjoy doing. So I think it's something innate. I love looking at pictures. I'm super analytical, and that's why I went into it. And just like I said a minute ago, I did no research into how viable it is, meaning how much I would make and the business model. I was kind of anti-business. I still am somewhat anti-business. I mean, I had no idea it was going to be 3 extra years, hard years, and then you still had student loans after, and it's not like you make any more money, and if anything, I think you make less out of. So it's actually a terrible decision. If I actually thought about it more, maybe I would not have done it. I don't know. So I mean, it's took me a while, I think, to get my business and practice going. I think it's comfortable now, but yeah, if you actually looked at the data, it's not that good, in terms of money, that is, So,
don't say that. You're discouraging other future doc bars, please.
Well, just do your homework, like we're saying. Take that, 1 or 2 extra steps. Interview some seasoned DAC bars and see what they think. It is, a nice environment. My office is at home, and I'm here all the time. It's nice, especially if you have a family around and you can be around them all the time. It can be a little distracting when they're here all the time, Aura, but as you know, they're not here right now. So
I think we all hear you loud and clear. Everybody, family at home. Now my daughter's leaving to college next week. I think I'm gonna miss
wow.
the house. But my son looks like senior year is gonna be most online. But yeah, what I love about what you said is that you are innate new, and I love to give my audience and the Ganeka show something that they can take. So when you're wondering which direction to go in life, especially for the youngins, and I've been having this conversation a lot with my daughter and her friends, and they don't know what they're going to do. And I've had this with my 2 teenagers. And I always said the same thing as your dad, find something you love to do. Forget about the logistics. Forget about, how much money you're going to make. Or if you love to do it, you're going to do well at it and you will make money. It's just how it is. But if you do it just because you will make money, you will be miserable. Even with the money, that's not going to make you happy. So I think you did the right choice because you definitely have a calling. I couldn't do what you do, for sure. Oh my God, I'm the least analytical person there is, probably too emotional. I need to use my own ABC process in the Get Naked systems in order to step back and just, accept the situation, reflect on it, remove the layers that I don't need in order to then take the action steps. Sometimes I need to remind myself of that, what I remind my clients on the Ganeka system of what to do. But I'm passionate about that. I love talking to new people. I love finding their passion. One of those things. So if you're wondering what you need to do, find that one thing that you want to do all the time, even if you're not getting paid. Like me doing these interviews right now.
Me too.
Yes, I want to be clear here. I don't get paid to do this. I just love bringing new people to you, bringing new narratives of what got them into this point, what they're passionate about, and them sharing their passion. I feed off that. So I love when you talk about X-ray because you light up. And I'm sure that's the one thing that you noticed within yourself when you were looking at those pictures from your dad. And that's how you know what you should do, people. Just find that one thing that you want to do all the time. As long as it's not Netflix, because I got this answer from teenagers. Oh, all I want to do is Netflix. Well, then find out how you can get paid by watching other people's shows on Netflix or Instagram or TikTok or whatever it is that is just going crazy. Let me ask you something, Cliff. Do you have any regrets or any crazy life lesson that made you just turn the way you were going, shift directions, anything that just really marked you and helped you become the person you are today?
Oh yeah, sure. We didn't touch upon this earlier, but or we kind of did. I went to National and LACC, and those are very medically oriented schools, and I came out of there thinking I knew everything, and I did get a very good education there, but we didn't get all the stuff other schools get. We didn't get a whole lot of philosophy. We didn't get a whole lot of vitalistic type of thinking, and I still don't know it. I don't have time kind of to look into that stuff. But when I came out of school, I was like your typical national grad, very medically oriented, and I knew nothing about the subluxation side of things. And get this, Aura, I didn't even know there was upper cervical chiropractors coming out. I was like, when I first heard of it, I'm like, oh, what, upper cervical? So it's the top half of the cervical spine? Yeah, of course. No, I had no idea. I didn't know there were green books.
That's hilarious.
Never heard of green books. It was crazy. So that part was a very big learning experience for me, and it's benefited me not just professionally, because now I can actually speak to chiropractors that didn't go to National. Before I couldn't speak to them because I didn't know the language. I didn't really understand them, which is what it really is. So I think just being open, and a lot of my colleagues, this sounds bad, from National are just, they're not open. A lot of them are, but a lot of them are not open. And I think just being open to different people, I think life is just, it's more interesting when you have different people with different backgrounds, different cultures, right? Latina and Asian, we're very different, Aura. But we have some very similar philosophies, So I think that is one big thing. And that happened, with my wife too. My wife is Asian, but she is not your typical Asian. She's very emotional. I even tell her sometimes, you don't believe in science, do you? And she's like, oh no, I do. And we'll get into a little argument, but yeah, she's very emotional. Her mother's very emotional, and so it's changed how I have to view things, and it's opened me up even more on trying to understand people that are outside of what I would previously thought was normal. Now I'm the abnormal one, Aura.
That's the thing. You see, that's the beauty of it. And I love to talk about relationships. So I could go on this topic for a long, long time.
You could, yeah.
That's my area of expertise in the Guinica show. But the fact that you attracted your very different wife and her family is balancing you out and letting you see different sides. Sometimes we get so close to only wanting to see our side. And I've been guilty, especially during this last 4 months. I've been guilty to I just don't want to deal with it. I don't want to hear the other side. This is how it is. This is how I see it. And I've gotten into some very useless arguments on social media. So that another way of wasting your time, people. Avoid it. It just doesn't get you anywhere. So just like it happened with your relationships, usually we attract what we lack. So we attract because it balances us out, and it lets us see that we do indeed have those sides to ourselves. And it lets us see, keep growing with ourselves. If you were to find somebody as analytical and science-based as you, Cliff, you will be missing out on so much that you need to learn about yourself. So you
Yes.
can then expand into your best version and give your gifts to other people. But because you have your beautiful wife and her family that are a little different than you and more outspoken and more impulsive and maybe a little bit more loud, and they don't care about all this logistics, they just go with the flow probably. I could relate. I'm describing myself probably, but yes, I know that that has served you in order for you to serve more people. Because I'm sure you have encountered plenty of clients yourself, chiropractors, I mean, and that are just like your wife. And now you know how to deal with them and you know how to react to this impulsive bunch that don't go for science. That just go for feeling, and it's okay, it's totally okay. And I love to talk about this because in today's age with everything that's happened, we're in this world together, and we shouldn't be attacking each other because of race or opinion or party or whatever it is that people are attacking themselves for. We should, yes, be open, and I'm saying this to myself as well. Be open to the different opinions, because there's something we can always learn about ourselves so we can expand into our best version. So I feel that people that are put in our path that are different than us, and even those people that we end up loving a lot, and they trigger us and they know how to press our buttons in the right way so we jump. Those are the people that become our biggest teachers, and we should be so grateful for that. So I love where this conversation went right then and there, Cliff. You see how quickly we got naked. But yeah, so the missing link is to step back and really see the big picture. And if you encounter things that are not like you, there's probably something you need to learn, because we all have each other's qualities. We just haven't recognized them in ourselves yet. So that is a big window of lesson, and don't jump to conclusions, because you're going to get bitten off by the wrong animal. That I'm going to tell you. And that goes when we go into social media arguments that don't get us anywhere. So remember to accept, reflect, and get naked yourself so you can take action, or the ABCs that Dr. Cliff taught us, and go back to the basics. So, going back to your teachers, who has been your biggest teacher, or the best book you constantly go to? What is that thing that it has impacted you so greatly in your life? Could be a book, a quote, or a person.
Oh, good question. And I don't know how much time you have, but just a little sidebar. You know what I learned? It's the first day I showed up at LACC to do my radiology training. They said, "Hey, Cliff, do you know what DACBAR stands for?" I'm like, "Yeah, of course. It's Diplomate American Chiropractic Board of Radiology." And they said, "No, sit down." I said, "Okay." He said, "You know what it stands for? It stands for Don't Adjust, Can Barely Read." And I'm like, "Oh my goodness, that's pretty funny," because you look at all the DACBARs. Most of us don't see patients. We don't adjust. There are some that kind of do both, and kudos to them, because I think it's very hard to do both. And we don't. I mean, obviously we know how to read, but we don't like. I guess I don't like reading long novels because I fall asleep mostly. I'd rather someone read it to me, or I watch it as a movie. That'd be much easier. But reading a novel is very hard for me. And it's the same when we're reading X-rays. Obviously, we read the X-rays, but when you give us a little bit of history, oh, they have pain or fainting or something. I tell my doctors, don't send more than 2 lines. If 1 or 2 lines, that's it. If it's any more, I'm going to charge you more, because I don't want to spend time reading this whole story. I don't have time to do that, and so just send me 1 or 2 lines. So now going back to, I'm sorry to divert a little bit, but so favorite books, one, I would say, and people. So one book is called The 5 Love Languages. I think
love that.
The author is Gary Chapman, maybe.
Yes, Gary Chapman, yes.
And so it was a reality check for me. This was before I met my wife. And so I think if you haven't read it, or if you don't know about it, I mean, you don't have to, I mean, sure, you can go buy it, but it's, it's those 5 things. It's like people respond to love, and they give love in different ways.
What's yours?
What's that?
What's
Mine is I do acts. So like
acts of
acts
service.
of service. And I like, it's probably true for most guys, we like physical touch. And so I find in my research, guys usually have those two, maybe three. But in my experience, women have all five, and you have to meet all five. If you miss one,
You're in trouble.
You're in trouble. Yeah, exactly.
Oh my God, I love that.
Isn't that true? You have to.
You know what? That is partly true.
The time, acts of service, words
of affirmation, gifts.
Gifts. Yeah, I was terrible at doing gifts before. Quality time. Yeah, so I think we got them all. So yeah, look them up if you don't know them, but make sure your significant other gets all five. And it's a good way. So the two things that, I think that I'm telling your listeners, the ABCs for radiology, that's 4 things. I think that's easy to remember. And then 5 things at the 5 love languages.
That's it, people. If you have never read that book, go find out what your love language is, because what happens in relationships, and here's a naked tip, what happens in relationships is that you are giving it how you want to receive it, not how they want to receive it. And that's where the miscommunication and the extra step is lacking. The missing link is finding out that person that you want to spend some time with, what they like, and then just give it to them like they want it.
Yeah, you just got to do it.
That's it. Give it to them like you want it. Yeah. Yes. And then you tell them how you want it. It's very weird. We get into these relationships with people, but then we don't want to tell them what we want. We don't want to ask them what they want. It's like, what kind of relationship is that? Communicate. So you can then have the interaction and grow through each other's answers and give each other what you want, because God forbid somebody else will do it for you. So let's hope that's not the way your relationship goes. But this has been so much fun, Cliff. I love having you on the show. You're definitely a different kind of guest than I've had in the past, but I loved it. Where can people find you if they need to have their x-rays read?
Oh, yeah, they can find me online. They can, now you could find anything online. Well, except I'm not on Amazon, like you said earlier about Amazon. But find me on Facebook, LinkedIn, or you can just Google me, and hopefully my website will pop up. I'm pretty responsive on those 3. I don't know if I can leave you my number or website.
Tell me what is your website?
Website is clifftowdcdacbar.com.
Clifftown, DC, all together.
All together.
Okay, we're gonna put that in there, and I'm going. Did I get it?
Thank you. Wow, this is cool.
This has been so great, Cliff. I look forward to seeing you in our speaking world. I know a lot of the things. I'm going up to a seminar in Indiana this week, and actually my first time flying since this whole thing started. So I'm very excited to get out of my house. And yes, for everybody else listening, I hope you liked it. Let me know if you have any questions for Dr. Cliff. Please post them below. I'll make sure he gets them. And if you liked it, if you know any chiropractic students that need to hear this information, please forward it to them. Like and share. Sharing is caring. If you have any issues with your relationships or anything else, please contact me. GetNakedSeries.com, Dr. Aura through Facebook. I'm very accessible. Keep liking and sharing and rate my podcast on iTunes. And let me know who else you want to hear. Different voices, different opinions, different lessons, so we can expand into our best self and keep helping others that need it so much during these very crazy times we live in. We need to really work on ourselves and just become our best so we can give the best to the world that needs it. So thank you, Dr. Cliff. It was wonderful having you. Say goodbye to your wife for me. I know I met her very, very briefly. And you, everyone, have yourself a blessed Wednesday. Stay naked, stay true. Ciao.